Good afternoon and welcome everyone to the Landa Humanus Global Conference Call. We're glad to have you on board with us throughout the world, many calling in from different continents and time zones. Thank you for accommodating the schedule. I'm your host, Will Barney. I'll be conducting the call today. Glad to have with us our chairman as well as Doug Jones on the line. And we also have a guest, which we'll get into a little bit later. We have a lot of things that we hope to share with you today that we think will be enlightening and will bring a little bit of new knowledge. We'll begin with our forward-looking safe harbor statement and get into the remainder of the call. All information provided in this call is for educational purposes only. We are not investment nor legal advisors. All statements made by participants on this call are of their own opinion and do not necessarily reflect the opinion of Landa China Global or Humanus. Statements relating to potential world events, currency exchanges, historic bond compensations, new technologies, or the timing of any event are personal opinions and should be independently verified before acting upon them. Statements related to Landa China Global or Humanus' future plans, funding expectations, beliefs, intentions, and prospects are forward-looking statements. They are subject to material risk and uncertainties. Many factors could affect our current expectations and or our actual results and could cause the actual results to differ materially from what has been stated. Before taking action upon any of the information included in this call, please consult with your own personal financial and legal professionals for advice. Neither Landa China Global nor Humanus undertake any duty to update any of the statements in light of new information, changes, or future events. So we'll get started right into the call and begin with intelligence updates from our chairman, Jerzy Babkowski. So, Jerzy?
Thanks, Will. Hi, everybody. There have been some very critical events take place in the last weeks. These have culminated in a good position for humanity to begin the reconstruction projects. My talks with the royals and the others, both in Europe and in China these last days, has confirmed many of the things we expected to happen for the benefit of humanity. The intelligence stream has been heavily laced with good news reports as yet another part of the picture was installed. And it is with good confidence that I can state that we are about to embark on quite an amazing time in this century. Now that the G20 is over, many are asking themselves, what are the results? Well, the results we have seen were provided from several directions, with the predominant information being the communique to the leaders of the G20 summarizing the workings of the summit that has been posted thanks to multiple sources. The reason for such an internal leak is basically to show the world that something was actually talked about that made sense. It's a very good communique, and consensus was reached amongst the leaders to benefit our humanity in these end times. One notable item on the list is China's self-imposed ethic of transparency. And get this, starting with the inclusion of the yuan in the SDR basket of currencies. Our friend pointed out China going into the SDR takes away their ability to print money clandestinely and will have a tremendous impact on their economy. So it's no more printing money for toys. What it does is force transparency. This was one of the goals of the elders in China, namely to install core values where they matter and force compliance to the new and honorable ways of doing business and the strict oversight of matters of corruption in the financial system. And this was aptly demonstrated on one hand by the establishment of the AIIB. That's a very tight organization. So when commerce changes to something that benefits people rather than take away from them, a fundamental of trust is established that can grow and flourish. Long-term goals such as these are a trademark of the elders working behind the curtain. The G20 was a wonderful opportunity for the leaders to be fully briefed on the new ways that this world will be doing things now, and a great deal was accomplished. We can rest easy knowing that such fundamentals have been, in fact, installed. It took a great deal, but all the parts of the whole is working in one direction now, all in tandem. It's a wonderful thing to see. So it is my opinion that we have seen a signal moment occur, and we can get to the work ahead of us all. Humanus and Landa will be completing our infrastructure shortly with office presence and appropriate banking established to provide a global funding capability. Our directions are under the oversight of a global tax law firm well-versed in such matters. The benefit to the project proponents via Humanus services will be quite tangible, as all aspects of a project's funding and deployment can be accomplished in-house due to the level of service we represent. All funding for projects arrive from multiple directions as various royals, foundation, and trusts are behind Humanus for this purpose. The specific department handling historic assets in Landa may bring some fees which will be welcomed through that direction, but will be placed in the main holding account for the purpose of project funding only. This will augment the funding from the Humanus sources. In respect of the compensation of historic assets and currencies, there have been many that have stepped forward and informed that they have authority to transact such items, and we have elected to not submit any packages that were provided for processing, as the time was not right. We believe the time has come where this process of compensation or redemption can begin and fulfill its function in this global reset times we are in. In this regard, we have been working closely with the Rodriguez Trust for a number of years, but were not able to specify its name due to a secrecy request. Since this was lifted, we announced the name a few weeks back, and there seemed to be some negative feedback in respect of the trust signatory, Dr. Alan Cohler, being dead and the trust of no further effect or force. We spoke with Dr. Cohler, and the decision was made to afford Dr. Cohler the opportunity to state the obvious on this conference call and give a little bit of background as to the trust and why it's here and operational. He has agreed to participate in our call to help bring clarity to the global events as they unfold and develop. So with that said, I would like to introduce the Secretary and Asset Manager for the 01 Protocols and Rodriguez Trust, Dr. Alan Cohler. Dr. Cohler.
Good afternoon. Nice to be here.
Good to have you here. First, we would like to state our appreciation for attending this call. We know you're extremely busy, but as we are truth-bound, it behooves us to dispel rumors of your demise.
I've been ill for some time. I am much better, and obviously, if you have good hearing, you can hear me. I am alive. I go on the bicycle every day, and I can do up to 7.6 METs daily. You can look up on Google what METs are. And I'm getting ready to start doing the many projects that are planned. And on the redemption process, I'm getting the humanitarian part. I'm not interested in the money for myself. It goes for humanitarian. And if you have the bonds and you can look at them, the percentages are written in the bond where the money goes.
Right. I totally understand. Dr. Cohler, could you first give us just a brief history of the 01-4 protocols and the Rodriguez Trust, if you would?
Okay. The Rodriguez estate starts all the way back with Queen Isabella II in the early 1500s and finished up with King Alphonse XII in about 1891. And Hermogenes Rodriguez was given a royal decree in 1891 to be the first governor of the Philippines. The Treaty of Paris, 1898, the U.S. bought the Philippines. Section 8 of the Treaty of Paris gave private lands to remain private and unprescriptable by the government, which means the government couldn't take it over. And the land title to the Philippines is documented as 01-4 and given to Hermogenes R. Rodriguez. His name is on the land title and signed by him. It's in the archives of the Philippines and the United States. The money that's made from this is for improving the Philippines and other assets found around the way to the estate. Salvage rights from World War II is in with the estates. The IMF and the World Bank are associated with the estate, as is the new AIIB, which you have previously mentioned.
Yes.
Those that know history of Asia, a lot of people brought a lot of assets and kept them in the Philippines. and World War II involved the Philippines. In fact, they were bombed 8 hours after Pearl Harbor. There are international treaties that say the winning belligerent of World War II owns everything in the Philippines, and the salvage rights go along and are attached to the Rodriguez estate. And basically, they own all the land, including the oceans in between the land. I thought they were nuts the first time they told me that, but it's in the land title. And the 01-4 was part of the 1891 royal decree from King Alphonse XII. He's a fourth degree relative of Queen Isabella. The 01 is attached to all of the humanitarian accounts and to the Rodriguez estate. Among the other numbers, which includes the IMF and World Bank, and also the accounts related to the Rodriguez estate. And that's basically where the funding is coming to redeem the assets, which basically were owned initially by the estate. The money for a lot of these assets, which are from 1900 to 1913, all came from the Rodriguez estate because there was no Fed at the time, and most of the boxes that come in after the Fed came in actually probably came from the Rodriguez estate. And
that's a pretty solid history.
Yeah. And that money that is paying for most, if not all, of the assets. We'll get into the redemption process or people claiming to be buyers or whatever in shortly.
Yes. How long have we been engaged in working these events?
Well, my wife was Filipino, and one of her cousins worked with Marcos, and they were in front of the estate. So anything you hear about Marcos, he was basically one of the main brokers for the estate. The cousin, I've known them over 40. It would now be probably 50 years that I've known them. I've gone to the Philippines since 1994. I've been associated with probably the Rodriguez estate and other associated trusts in a administrative position since 2004. The position of asset manager of the Rodriguez estate was officially set up for me personally, and I was the first and only asset manager for the Rodriguez estate at the time. When I was hospitalized over the last 2 years, a relative was asked to help me out, specifically for the Philippines because I couldn't travel. He's been officially removed as an additional asset manager for the Philippines. He is still working with us but doesn't have an official title. It was a little bit confusing. I've never lost my position. I have many people working with me doing the work. It can't be done by one person. There's been people over the years that have been impersonating me and also my position. And
just lately, you were supposed to be dead. I don't know the details of your demise, though.
As they say, it's been prematurely announced. And I am personally announced. I am personally recognized with my position by the U.S. and China Treasury, the IMF, the World Bank, the Chinese family, and most of the major banks. They all have copies of my paperwork. And
so there is a universal acceptance of your authority, like the IMF and the global central banks and treasuries and all that.
Including the German Bundesbank, the Central Bank of China, and the Bank of England. What they have when my position comes through, those who know banking know that anything official has to be signed by 2 bank officers. We sent something through, I think, to the Bank of England, and it got held up because they needed the 3rd bank officer because of the account and my name on it. When we presented when we initially started, I think a couple of years ago, they couldn't believe that with my name on a submission, it would be cleared within a matter of hours. Most of it takes a couple of weeks.
Indeed it does. Yeah. I know that from experience.
It automatically clears because they know who I am. I traveled to China 2 years ago. I met with the China Treasury. I was invited to meet the families. I was ill at the time, and they got my documents. The estate has been working with the China Treasury and the family for about 30 years, so they're all tied in together, and it's easier to tell people it's coming from a Chinese bank or the Chinese or the elders, rather than give out one person's name.
That's very true. What about all the other individuals representing themselves in various ways as a quote buyer of currency or bonds? Do they have any relevance or authority to transact?
Well, the first part, the assets cannot be sold, but they can be redeemed. The purpose of the redemption is to provide funds for humanitarian projects. It's usually printed in the bonds. So much percentage goes to the people that negotiated the deals, the IMF, the World Bank, the UN, the U.S. Treasury, the Fed, certain countries. They all get a percentage. It's in the bond. And for the humanitarian projects, the percentage, how much goes for agriculture, how much goes for infrastructure, it's in the bonds. And the whole purpose of the bonds is to provide funding for humanitarian assets. Her Mohannes Rodriguez died, and for the last 100 years, relatives downline changed their name to Rodriguez, went into court and said, "This is my land, this is this, blah, blah, blah." The United States of America Supreme Court and Supreme Court of the Philippines in 2002 stated that the granddaughter of Her Mohannes Rodriguez is the sole administratrix. She won in the regional court and all the way up to the Supreme Court of the Philippines. And basically they told all the other people whose name was Rodriguez or whatever it is to get lost and don't come back. And so she's been recognized as the sole heir, and we have the whole chain of title, and she turned it over to another relative whom I represent, and I represent the family of the heirs of those that are recognized as 01-4 and the Her Mohannes R. Rodriguez estate, as does the United States of America, the U.S. Treasury, China Treasury, IMF, and most of the other people. There are, I'm told, only 6 real buyers by region. There may be downline people. There may be people that are downline from them. Many banks or people next to banks are trying to buy obviously at a lower price, and they lose control of the humanitarian part for that part. We're direct to the end buyers, which are basically ourselves. So they have a saying, the buyer is the seller, or the seller is the buyer when it goes through through me or through my Philippine corporation, FRN Exchange for Economic Development, or any of the people that are working down the line through either of the two entities.
Understand. There is one question that many have asked before. The question is, where does the money come from for these redemptions?
The money comes, some of it is confidential prior to Queen Isabella and King Alphonse. But if you take the Philippines, it was totally primitive in 1891, and Hermogenes, as the first governor, started agriculture and all sorts of mining, and basically developed the country, and all the money came back to him because he was the owner.
I see.
So it came back to him. I don't have an exact history of all the piracy and craziness that happened in the 15th, 16th, 17th, 18th, 19th century, but all of the trade that was done between China and Asia and all the rest of them, and the pirates, all the gold, a lot of the gold ended up somewhere in the Philippines, and since the estate owned the land, they owned the gold. And so they found some of that, invest your money for 120 years and see what happens.
I understand.
A lot of it came to the United States secretly to help out the wars after World War II and certain other things, which I can't disclose at this time.
I understand.
Mm-hmm.
Well,
and I am the documents that I have. I showed to, I think, some of your people. We were on a Skype call, I think, a couple of days ago, and I showed my documents that I have. And somebody was asked for proof, and we met with people in the Philippines and showed a picture of me having dinner with the people of the estate. So, that
works. Absolutely.
And the other thing that we have to explain is, like we emphasize, if you sell your box, it's illegal. If it's redeemed with some of the flippers, they're being arrested, and they have a clause in their contract that says if they don't get paid, you don't get paid. And there are a lot of people that are very quietly being arrested. So
this is in keeping with all the cleanup in the bank. Yes.
Yeah. The people that I'm dealing with we're directed to the buyers and the end banks that have the accounts of the estate, and like I said, there's only a handful of real buyers, and we have had people, like I said, people impersonate me or the position. They're in the process of being arrested for a long period of time, and recently, I think somebody tried to steal a deal. We offered them a choice. You can either get nothing and go to jail, or you can get money if you deal with us. And
that's compassionate.
All of our paperwork contain documents to comply with United States law. Even if you're not a United States citizen, you're being paid in United States currency, and the law goes along with the currency in which you're being paid. Doesn't make any difference where you're going. And so if you're being paid in United States currency, the contract has to go by United States law, which is the 1979 Trade Secrets Agreement, the 1996 Economic Espionage Agreement, House Bill 1831 to 39. You can look those up under Economic Espionage. You can look up the estate and 01-4 protocol on Google. But I'm here, I'm alive, and it's basically God's money, and if you don't follow God's rules, you don't get his money.
And that's perfect. Dr. Cohler, thank you so much for being with us. I've run out of questions. I'd like to turn it over to Will and Doug and see if they can pick your brain for anything else that you might like to know.
Excellent. Thank you, Jersey. Dr. Cohler, I had a couple of questions. One is surrounding these types of assets. They were never meant to be in the public space. Some of them have gotten into the public space through really some nefarious acts. Is it safe to call it a redemption, bringing them back into the thing, or is there really some other word for it?
It's a redemption. It's interesting. I got called by a friend to go to Reno a couple of years ago, and the Secretary of the Treasury was there, Christine Lagarde was there, high-ranking other officials were there, and they were working off of fake documents. And they asked me to bring my documents. I brought my documents, and I said, the people you're dealing with are street brokers. They have no idea about the estate or what's going on. One of the other people I dealt with worked with a religious organization and talked to Christine and Grandpa Bailey, and they were happy that he was dealing with me. I have multiple groups that I'm working with. When I couldn't work, I had people downline, or I've had people that I've known for 25 years, and they're the ones that are helping me out. And most of the people have been in business for quite some time, and most of them are very educated people. And the goal is not the money; it's the humanitarian efforts that the governments have screwed up all over the world, and it's time for private individuals to do it. And I guess I drew the short straw. It's up to me to straighten out what the government screwed up.
We appreciate the work that you're doing. As our primary focus has been on the projects for years, and getting the funding for that is obviously a critical component. One of the things that's been interesting is we have mentioned on this call numerous weeks before, actually probably for the last 2 years, at various times, that if someone is holding one of these assets, whether it's a box or even a loose bond, it's a stolen item. Is there really a way for anybody to get compensation for that if they don't have the history, the chain of custody, if you will, of how it got to their hands?
No one has the history that I have. If you look at when you fill out the KYC, one of the first pages it said that we don't deal with mandates, lawyers, attorney-in-fact, representatives, etc. We'll only deal with the owner, OWNER. There's only one owner of these assets, and that's the estate. There has been stuff. We own the land and the bunkers upon which they were put for a specific reason. Part of it has to do with World War II. Most of the stuff was brought to the Philippines. The stuff that was owned by the Philippines was kept in Philippine lands or in the bunkers. I personally have an interest in the bunkers through the salvage rights and the estate, and it's all one, and it's all for all the people, and not one or two people to make large amounts of money. The finder's fees for bringing these in are ridiculously high. That should be good enough. Most of it's for humanitarian. I have mandated projects that I have to do, which is basically straightening out what the government screwed up in the United States and the Philippines. Some of the stuff has been turned in from many other countries, and they'll get the humanitarian my idea is that where the assets come from, that's where the humanitarian goes after I straighten out the Philippines and the United States, and there's more than enough money to do it all. I have all the legal documents, so the people on this call should send the stuff back to somebody that's they know, which would be you guys.
So essentially, what's required then to deal with these assets is a clearly defined history of how, if a person's holding it, where do they get it, because it really belongs to the trust. So bring it back. Basically, you're saying all things should be returned back to their owner, and there's some finder's fees, it sounds like, that's associated with that.
Yeah, it's based under international law. Stolen property is void ab initio, which means the contract's void before it starts. If you break federal laws, the instant you break a federal law, the United States government steps into your shoes and they take the money. And we have one case right now where the people have a choice to go with one of the fakes that tried to steal the deal and end up in jail. And the fines are, for each law that you break, it's like $5 to $10 million fine and 5 to 10 years in jail per instance. What they'd have to do is, we have a trade secrets agreement. It's different in many different countries, but since we're dealing with United States law, it's relatively strong. Most of the people will have to sign a trade secrets agreement related to FRN Exchange, which is the commercial arm of the Rodriguez estate, and assign the asset that they have back to the Rodriguez estate, and then fill out a KYC. The redemption process, when I talked to the redemption people, they said Joe Blow, Joe Schmo, William Jones, whoever it is, can fill out the KYC, say that they've had the asset for whatever it is, and they're the holder of the asset. And it should have no effect, but once it gets assigned to the Rodriguez estate, it then becomes, the Rodriguez estate is accepted as a sovereign. There's 209 sovereign countries that have accepted the Paris Accord, which is world government, and part of world government is the redemption of all of these assets. And I'm considered a sovereign, is what I was told by the redemption people, and we get the highest price for the humanitarian. So that's what has to be done. Just so I have a little clarity, the process here is that the items being returned back to the trust, it's being liquidated, monetized into the projects, basically the humanitarian projects. Is that correct? That's correct. It's coming from one of our accounts in China. When I met with the Chinese 2 years ago, I met with the head of the Treasury, and I said, here are my documents, and here's the account of which I'm a signatory, that you're going to take the money out to pay for it, and we're the buyer and seller. And whatever I bring in, I get back for humanitarian, minus a small servicing fee, which is a ridiculous amount for, the finders and whatever. And it's in the bond. And many people out there are asking for bigger percentages, of the bond for bringing them in. And it's just not going to happen. What happens if someone brings a box and it's not deemed as being real? It's fake or manufactured. Then what? A lot of them. There's 4 factories that I know of in the Philippines. People that I were friends with in the Philippines. One girl sold 2 of the same boxes. Both were fake. I think she sold them for $2,000 a piece that were trying to hustle with her. She gave them the box, and she took the $2,000. They both turned around and smiled, and she ended up with $4,000 for the day, and the guys that tried to cheat her got a fake box. I don't know what, they want to bring in all the boxes. Most of them are fake. The most important part is the genealogy of the box. And those that have the right genealogy, which would be the bunkaderos, the people that are holding it or watching the bunkers or the tunnels or the warehouses, they're entitled to a specific fee for holding it. 01-4 owns all of the stuff in Asia. And most of the people in Asia know that they're supposed to come back to the Rodriguez estate, including the royalty. And some of them are my relatives through my wife. And some of them try to find me because they're told you have to go to Dr. Cohler. And this is royalty.
Interesting. So if someone comes forward and they don't have the documentation that goes with the box, then there really wouldn't be compensation paid to them because they haven't proved.
This isn't done to give $25 billion to some guy off the street. That's not going to happen. They may have to go through some chain. I remember we had one deal, and they definitely guaranteed that their buyer, when we first started, before I had the position, guaranteed that they were somebody that knew what they were doing and they could buy the bonds. And after going through a whole bunch of people, it turned out it was us that was the buyer. But right now, I have all the paperwork. No one in the world has the paperwork that I have or is recognized in my position. It's interesting. There's one other person in the Philippines that has all kinds of stuff, has been saying he's the relatives of whatever the stuff is, and he owns the Philippines. He's 01-4, blah, blah, blah. And it's really his people that impersonated when it came time to do something, he went to another country and said that he's the asset manager for the Rodriguez estate, not his estate. And the people that went there will be getting a free condo compliments of the United States government for a long time.
So it sounds like maybe there's a consolation prize for even just bringing any box in, because it's getting it off of the market, right? It's getting it out of circulation.
Yeah, I don't know. I think they're going to pay something. I have no idea what it is. I don't know if it's $10 or $1,000 or what. I have absolutely no idea what it is. That's part of the global immunity. That if it's brought in and it's fake, the people don't know. Most of the stuff that's out there is fake.
Like over 90%?
Over 95% of the boxes are fake. Some of the stuff that's coming in now may be real if it's coming from the right place, but you're not going to fool anybody with fake. Mm-hmm. There were duplicates, which is why they need to know where it came from. They know exactly where each number should be, and they know if it's stolen, specifically where it was stolen from and who stole it. We had one submission that came in. Somebody took some stuff out of a bunker and paid for helicopters and whatever and got some pretty good boxes. But we know the numbers of the boxes. We know who it is, and it'll be sent to the proper authority and they'll be picked up. Like I said, many of the flippers have been arrested. A lot of the bankers have disappeared or quit. This is God's redemption, and it has to be honest. If you're not honest, you ain't part of the redemption.
It sounds like there's protocols put in place to stop the bad guys from getting a hold of this. if a person has gotten one of these into their possession through whatever means, what is the process for them? I guess if they've gotten it illegally, then there's possible consequences.
Well, there's global immunity. I'm not interested in putting people in jail unless they're causing me trouble, or the people we're dealing with, and we come across it every day. You have to find your way into the process. If you can find somebody that's hooked up with the estate, then you have a very good chance of getting it redeemed. Like I said, a lot of the banks are trying to buy them to turn them in. And you'll get paid something if it's real, but there's a clause in the contract that if it's not real, you won't get paid. And also beware of somebody saying they represent the sovereign. We're dealing with somebody who has a large amount of stuff, and he brought in a couple assets to see what he could get for him, and he pulled out a gun, and they told him to leave his assets on the table and get out of the room. So he's been dealing with us. People with a lot of assets can check me out. I passed clearance through the United States multiple times. The buyers that I'm dealing with have checked through the FBI and State Department and Treasury and all the rest, and I've cleared everywhere. Do your homework, see who you're dealing with, and beware of fraudulent people. A lot of them are just getting into the business, and they go all over Asia trying to get these assets, and they're all privately owned. We're dealing personally with some of the main accounts, and they know that they have to go back to 01-4. And there is no one else who's asset manager but me, but I do have multiple downline people, and they'll tell you that they're working with the Rodriguez estate. And sign it over to the Rodriguez estate, and it'll have to come back to us. That's where the money's coming from.
Excellent. Yeah. Well, thank you so much for your questions. Doug, do you have any questions?
No, I just want to, Dr. Cohler, this is Doug. I just want to thank you for taking the time to come on the call. It was me that, I want to testify, it was me that got to view all of the doctor's documentation. It's pretty profound once viewed. So I can't acknowledge that it is valid and does carry the authority behind it.
Yeah, I did represent this. I quit a very busy, lucrative medical practice. I represented the state of California for the medical board and the Board of Consumer Affairs in court for 10 years. I'm familiar with the legal process, and I gave all of that up to help out my wife's hometown to build a hospital, and this is what it ended up with. So, most of the people know who I am. If you have any paramedics or EMTs in your facilities, I trained the first two groups of paramedics in the world and the first two groups of EMTs, and I actually got fired for doing that.
Wow. Incredible.
So that's
well, Doc,
something like that.
I'm very grateful that you're here.
Yeah. I'm very grateful that I'm here also, and I'm directed by a higher power, and I'm doing what I'm supposed to be doing. And I thank all of those who have helped me, and these assets are to help out the world and make it better, and that's what I'm trying to do.
No kidding. Good deal. All righty.
Well, okay, thanks, any other questions?
We don't have any. There are sometimes callers that call in and have questions, but we didn't really plan to bring them on with you.
Okay,
so,
that's fine.
So
a lot of
probably
this
have covered most of it. Thanks.
Yeah, a lot of this is out there. It will take you hours and days and weeks of research to get this. I've been doing this for 25 years, and I started at the top with family, but that doesn't mean they give you everything right away. They, played around with me for a long time till they gave me everything.
Very true. Well, we're glad to be of service. Glad to be on the project side and getting the show underway. It's been a hell of a long time. It's about time. It's a good thing.
Yeah, it's a lot of the people at the top weren't fully on board with the reason for that, and they've been removed, and it delayed it somewhat. So I don't have control of the I know what the redemption process is and the right way to do it. I did talk to one of the main redemption people, and I was told I have 1 million submissions, and yours is the only one that's correct. So if it's done our way, it'll get done. If it's not done our way, I don't know what's going to happen.
All right. Well, we're going to be republishing the downlinks. So those particular documents, or the descriptions of these documents, can be accessed, and we'll be sending off the proper paperwork for all the other submissions that have brought forward. If they're not correct, then Landa and Doug and his staff is going to ensure that the documentation is proper.
And we now have, because we have a lot of stuff coming in, I think through you, we have an intake process. I think you have all the documents that need to be done that are correct.
Yes.
And it'll go through the chain and get done. And
good. Happy to hear that.
I just have one more question, I think, before we let you go, Dr. Cohler. And that is, is this process only for boxes, or does it work for a loose bond that's been taken from a box?
They will do the loose bonds. I know we had 2 years ago, we started with some of the loose bonds, and a couple boxes got through the broker network and people that were trying to do that. They never closed. And my understanding is if somebody comes in with a couple thousand boxes, they're going to do that first before they do a loose bond. So they'll do, they have timing for everything. And right now they're doing the Iraqi and Zimbabwe, and I think Vietnamese currency, and the Super Pacellis, and the exotic Chinese boxes. And if somebody comes and says, I have whatever box that's not in what they're doing, they're not going to stop what they're doing to take care of them. So for that part, it will get done. It'll be a long time from now, but eventually it'll get taken care of. I have no time, but it's a long time rather than soon.
We had a lot of conversations here about whether they would be handled at all, whether the loose ones would even be handled at all. But I certainly could see that, it could be a blessing, getting funds out there to the world at some point. So.
Yeah, one of the problems with the loose bonds is if they're going to do a box where there's 250 or 1,000 in a box, if they do one bond, they get 1,000 of them. And if somebody has sequential numbers, they can end up getting 5,000 bonds for one authentication as opposed to one bond with the same amount of work. So they're doing the larger ones first, and we're getting stuff that's coming in from royalty and from the bunker holders that know that it has to come back through us. So that's going to be done first. Some of the other currencies, some we have, some got through the system, and a lot of this stuff is fake.
Mm-hmm. It sounds like there's a good portion of it, particularly in that part of the world. It is. So
yeah, they're not going to waste their time if somebody brings in a fake box or a fake whatever. I think somebody brought in 806 boxes to Zurich a year ago, and the information we got was that only 6 were real, and I said they made 6 mistakes. So.
One more question for you.
Sure.
Someone asked me, says, well, the amount, there's percentages on the bond. Okay, so much goes to different directions. Mm-hmm. Let's say what's left over becomes the humanitarian component. Is there some kind of a split on that? Like, does an individual have to give 80% of what they would give to humanitarian projects?
It depends on who they're going through. We had one that we did with it. The people doing it want control of the 80%, and you may not see that, and you'll lose the 80%. Anything that goes through me, I'm told I get it. I get the 80%. One, because the IMF was started by the estate as the World Bank was, and I saw the actual documents setting it up, and I saw the actual documents for the IMF numbers, and were town mates of my wife and relatives, which is interesting. And so I have the numbers, and the 01-4 protocol is the humanitarian projects, and that money is supposed to go for humanitarian, and I'm the signatory. And I've been told as long as it's for humanitarian, I can do whatever I want. And I'm, as much as, I'm not interested in, having a lot of money, going to have it anyway. I'm interested in getting it back to the people and doing the projects.
Well, we're excited to get the projects going. Can't wait. So
that's the only reason I did this, was to help out the people, not for the money, because I was doing fairly well in my practice, and I didn't like the way the government was screwing up the relationship between the doctor and the patient. And the position I have now, I can change that, which will be changed with the redemption. So anything the government wants to do in medicine, we're going to take them out.
Wow. Fantastic. Well, thank you so much for taking time to be with us today and to go through this. It's very helpful.
Thank you.
Thanks much, John.
Okay.
God bless. Bye.
Well, that was great session. We're going to get right to our callers in just a couple of minutes. I just want to talk about a couple of things here before we jump into taking our callers' questions. First of all, as we get unleashing the ramp-up stage here, and Jersey mentioned it briefly, this will take a little bit of time over a number of weeks. I've been getting some emails going, when am I getting my project response? When am I getting a response from HR on my resume? Please keep in mind that until the funding officially kicks off, we're on the brink of it, okay? It's within days anyway. That process doesn't really get started, and it's necessary to start that process. So please be patient with us as we go forward over the coming weeks and months and get into the remainder of the year. We think that we can get a lot of work done between now and Christmas to really set things up for 2017 to be a great year of projects and get lots of projects up and going. And we have an incredible staff of people here to do that. So I'm really grateful. And I've been looking at some of the resumes that have come in, and I know there's a lot of wonderful people out there, those of you that have sent those in that are wanting to come on board, and we'll need that talent. So thank you so much for participating in that. Doug in Jersey, you have anything else you'd like to share before we get to the phone lines?
No, that's pretty well it. I'm grateful that Dr. Cohler came on. This clears the area in a lot of different directions, and especially it proves to some elements that are on our calls and that voice their opinion on certain websites. I trust their opinion is altered by what just transpired. So away we go. We get to the project site now.
Excellent. We'll take our first caller. Hello, you're on the line. We'll take your question.
Hey, gentlemen. I hope you're all doing well. I just wanted to comment on that. The gentleman, that was some pretty amazing stuff. Really gave a good peace of mind as to what's going on. And also very, not overwhelming, I should say, but very exciting to see these steps starting to fall into place and to where we can really make that next step into helping our beautiful humanity and fixing all these things that need to be fixed. It's beautiful, and thank you so much for all that you guys do and for facilitating that wonderful cause. Really exciting stuff. Welcome to see these projects really being able to kick off. It just opens the whole scope for everything that we see happening within the projects and bonds and currencies and everything, and to be at that level, to really see it happen and to be a part of it, thrilling. It's super exciting. One thing that he did not mention, and I was just curious, was the currency side of things. To his knowledge, I thought I read somewhere that it said he had an update, something that he would have information on the currency as well, but he didn't mention that. So, but it all kind of relates, is what I'm feeling and what I'm seeing, and it's just very exciting. So, thank you so much.
Doug has a little insight on that. Doug.
Well, what I tried to do, this took a little effort in speaking with Dr. Cohler to get his blessing to come on and bring clarity to the planet, because this call will go viral, and we know that, and there's going to be rebuttals and this and that. Everybody's got their opinion, but we thought we'd go to the top dog so everybody gets a good general idea of it. Now, I've been grinding on getting that date, that what's going to transpire for the release of the funds to fund these currency movements, and the doc kind of can't do it. I mean, I ground on him for a while to try to get it, but he chose not to specify timing. That was getting into a confidentiality issue where it would cause a lot of drama if we were to put that online. We really kind of steer away from the timing. The one thing I can say is that you're watching a lot of things unfold right around you. They're just not made public, and people don't make it a big bullseye for you to key in on. Things are happening right now. If you just pay attention to what's actually been going on, I'll give you a couple of hints. Canada signing into the AIIB, Japan looking to follow. So you have some of the largest economies now going over to the AIIB. The AIB, the Asian Infrastructure and Investment Infrastructure Bank, is about to take a firm hold. These are some of the components that is requirement for you to see a GCR and an RV, because you have to have and along with the IMF signing into the AIIB, you have to have a global component that can facilitate the GCR. It can't be a bunch of scattered entities throughout the planet. It all had to be cohesive. And you're seeing it happen right now. Let's just put it that way. Things are moving faster than you really have any idea. So without getting detailed on it, again, I'm told not to speak of it. But these are things that are out there that's out there for the public. You can see it. You just got to be aware of it. So.
Right. And fair enough. And I think it's the wise move to not discuss some of these things, especially obviously if it's confidential, but just to keep a nice kind of level playing ground. You guys already take so much flack for just wanting to help people in general. you don't need any more crap on your plate, so to speak. So
I guarantee you we're going to catch it in the next couple of days. You'll see it. But, hey, we entered into the ring for the fight, and we don't go down with one shot. So we're going to be there standing. When the bell rings, it'll be us standing because we're noble in our cause. We don't have any hidden agendas of any kind. People just cannot understand how someone like Dr. Cohler, like us, just do things to help people. It always seems to be the bad guys always look for people doing nice things have another agenda behind what they're doing, and there just isn't one. So we're not hiding anything, and we're not hiding things to the point where we bring a global principle on the line to explain and bring clarity to the masses that are listening to the call. So we have nothing to hide, nothing. So keep the attacks coming. We just don't care. It doesn't matter.
Well, amen to that. And we, most of us, really appreciate it, and we're right on board with you. And I'm going to, when these currencies go through eventually, I'm going to be involved with you gentlemen, and I really look forward to it. So thank you. Keep up the good fight, and we'll see you on the other side.
All right.
Thank you much.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Hello, you're on the line. We'll take your question.
Hello, gentlemen. Actually, my question has been answered, so thank you.
Well, fantastic. Thank you for being with us. Hello, you're on the line. We'll take your question.
PJ here. How you guys doing?
Doing great.
Is a good doctor still listening to this, do you know?
I don't know that he's still on, but he may catch the ending later. Yeah.
All right. I'm sick and tired of gurus saying tomorrow. Tomorrow never comes. We ought to know that. But anyway, I'm just sick and tired of it. I'm very upset. I've made lots of plans to help hundreds of thousands of people. About 5 years ago, I went all in on this thing, on the ivory, on the dinar, on the presumption that it would be impossible for a country like Iraq to continue doing business at 1/10 of a cent. Okay? People around the world are not going to go and do work in Iraq, especially large oil companies and so on. They'd have to get paid ratio-wise to the American dollar at 1/10 of a cent. They'd have to get paid hundreds of billions of dollars for doing what they would normally do for several $million. So obviously that was never going to happen. So based on that, I went all in 5 years ago. Now, I'm at the point, and many other people, okay, where I've dedicated my last 20 years of my life, okay, to help humanity. I'm already doing what you people are looking for people to do in big ways, okay? And you also have put, I understand, put many years in without any compensation. What I have done in the last 20 years, I won't get into detail, but I've never charged a person 1 cent, especially in the healing modes, like Palladino, that guy, I think his name is Palladino. I've been doing that for 20 years on a similar type of thing that he does. And the other thing I've done, which I haven't come out of the closet on, is I've saved over 31,000 lives in 12 countries and over $3.4 billion in damages, okay? Another thing I did, saved 1.4 million lives, and that's documented. I haven't made that public. Excuse me?
Wow.
I'm serious.
Well
yeah, okay? I'm very serious. And I work in radionics like Palladino does, and I have the capability of doing a lot more. And I'm getting tired of what I am going to do, very simply, and this is my pledge, I'm going to wipe out starvation in the world. Children, 20,000 or so children die every day
I know.
around the world. in Africa and Asia primarily, and many kids in the U.S. don't have proper. And I'm upset. I'm over it. Okay, so this RV is
that's one of our focus. Yeah, big time. Well, we got to look after the kids first.
Right. I'm developing water that you can live on water alone, okay, to keep you alive. All right? I'm developing that. And it's just driving me nuts that I can't go ahead and finish what I want to do.
Well, this is where we can step in and give a helping hand. This is what we do.
You know, I'm going to goddamn food banks for food. Okay? For the last year or so, I'm going to food banks. I can't go down to a regular store.
What we can do is easily fund you to do something a little bit different than what you're thinking. Why don't you set up like a little distribution center? You'll get the funds for it. You can feed the food banks, and you can distribute a whole bunch of other things to help your community around you.
I wanted to use my own money. Okay?
Well, either or. You can dip into the Humanus side. That's no big deal. And start distribution. The more that we help, the faster we help, the better. It doesn't matter about the money, where it comes from. We just got to get it out there working.
I just want to get it done, okay? I'm tired of waiting. I'm getting ready. I'm living in a $600 goddamn basement shit apartment, okay? I'm going to get evicted out of it.
I hear you. We've all done that, been there. You bet. It's time for the change. It's time to get out of it and do something. And we will. Well, we're here. You know, whatever you need, just yell. You'll have it.
All I need is a loan so I can live until at RVs. That's all I need.
I understand, but more so than that, give us a summary of what you've got, the direction you want. Just bullet points. Put it on a couple of
Jersey.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm the guy that wanted you to stop by on your way back from the Mideast in Boston for one day so I could bring you down to this shithole I'm living in and show you what I've done. Visibly showing you what I've done with the authentication of it. Okay? And obviously you were too busy.
Way too busy. I am so swamped you have no idea.
Well, I know. But I figured you had to land. If you were coming from Europe, you probably had to land in on the East Coast, okay, before you went back to where you are.
Well, listen, you never know. I do have a schedule that I have to keep in the next month, but time permitting, yeah, you bet. Keep in touch, okay? Send something over so I can look.
Now, the next thing I want to say is very, very important to everybody that's listening. I'm a whale, what they call a whale, okay? And a definition of a whale, I think, is somebody ends up with over 50 million. I'm not sure, okay? All right? That's what I'm not sure. Anyway, the bottom line is Abbott Downing, or Downing, what the hell did they call them? Abbott Downing, they are high-end, ultra-high-end, client people who look after their money and do what they do. And apparently you have to have $50 million, okay, actual money, okay, not in property and real estate, but you have to have $50 million basically cash, okay.
Yeah.
So I decided about, 2 or 3 weeks ago now, to find out, because everybody is saying that, these guys are hooked in with Wells Fargo, and they're going to be handling all these, after Wells Fargo gets the money, they're going to be handling all this blah, 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 blah for their super wealthy clients. So I said, well, let me see if I can get some information out of these people, okay, so I can sort of get a feeling for what they do and how they do it and so on. I know a fair amount of banking, not as much as bankers do, of course. I do a tremendous amount of reading, just like I can tell you people are up on a lot of this stuff, okay? And so I called up regional Abbott Downing, and I got a guy on the phone, a guy that does this for them. And I started asking him about, blah, 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 about the RV and so on. He said, what are you talking about? So what do you mean, what am I talking about? You guys are going to be handling the ultra clients, okay, even or lesser, for Wells Fargo. He says, I don't know what you're talking about. I said, well, wait a minute now. I've been hearing this now for several weeks through the gurus and everybody else. This doesn't make any sense. He said, man, I don't know. He said, I just don't know. I said, well, maybe they are telling their guys not to tell anybody anything ahead of time. Don't want to spill the beans. Don't want it to get out and other people go running in to do that thing. I can buy that. That's what Wells Fargo has basically done to all their employees for the last couple of years, I'm sure. Okay? I mean, the writing's on the wall. So then I said, well, I just let it go. Because I'm expecting this RV, you're always like 2 days or 5 days or next week or next to the end of the first of the month and all that. Same old bullshit. So now what happens is some guy did the same thing I did. But he talked to the regional manager, a regional manager for Abbott Downey on the West Coast, where Wells Fargo just happens to have their head offices, okay? And he talked to a regional manager. And the regional manager says, oh, we don't expect you to be doing that until sometime early 2017. Now, I believe he was telling the truth.
Mm-hmm.
I want to know whether I have my wife go and look up that job ad for a janitor or not, so I can make some money and live. What knowledge do you guys have about Abbott Downing being the people of Wells Fargo and this thing actually going down before the 1st of January?
We don't have any information that would indicate when this would happen. Certainly not on a public level. I can tell you that from the work that has to be done on the private side, it could take weeks, months, perhaps. That's my opinion. Jersey?
Well, that is possible. The timing is an unknown, but I think it could be shorter than longer. I don't think it's going to go into a 6-month period. I think it'll be much, much shorter. If we do it within a month before Christmas, we're going to be batting 1,000. If we do it afterwards, well, we're still batting 1,000, literally. The release of the monies that are coming out right now, and this is not something that is to be taken lightly at all. We've been working to this point for the very longest time. The releases for the fundings of the projects is happening as we speak. Everything is in progress. Our little blackout period where it was very sensitive is over. There have been a lot of cleanups during that time, a lot of arrests. And I can name specifics, but it doesn't matter. The main thing is the cleanup is there. The Chinese have decided to do it with full transparency and put a lock on all the corruption and the greed and all the other crap and move forward in a proper direction, an honorable direction that actually means something and actually gets something done. So the advent of the RV here on the heels of that decision, it should be pretty short. But the main thing is that we're seeing the releases. Now that Dr. Alan Cohler has come forward and has explained his position, we can see everything moving forward very, very quickly right now because there's no more ambiguity. There is a clear direction. It's pretty well set forward. When you have a public disclosure of this nature to so many people out there, by the signatory of the trust that is the authority, for the compensations and the redemptions of these things. That's a very significant item. Coupled with everything that has happened in the G20 and the information and the communique, everything fits. We are here to serve humanity, to get the reconstruction projects happening, and the RV being part of this will be done in some manner, some fashion, at some time. It doesn't matter whether it happens in 5 minutes from now or 5 weeks from now. It will happen. And when it happens, that's just more work. But it's going to be pleasant work. I hope that gives you a little bit more perspective on the question rather than having a cut and dry, at such and such time.
I guess I have to live with what I got, right?
Well, PJ, I would just say this: if somebody was to give you a day right now, and Doug has indicated this before, I wouldn't believe it. A specific date, I wouldn't believe it. Not even.
I'm not a fool. I understand that.
It's a process, and there's a lot of still moving parts in the background that are. Jersey talked about some things being positioned, the puzzle pieces coming together, and that is vital. In fact, it's an important step that has to be done. But there's still a lot of work to do, and so that's why we've always cautioned some patience in this, because we kind of see some of that going on in the background and realize that that it takes a little time to do.
Well, that's all I've got to say.
All right, thank you much. Appreciate you calling in.
Thanks, brother.
Hello, you're on the line. We'll take your question.
Good afternoon, gentlemen. This is Ron. I really would have liked to talk to the good doctor. Can you hear me?
We can.
Oh, okay, because I'm speaking on the car radio. His comments made me ask or come up with some questions that need better perspective. One of the comments in general was that there were 209 sovereign countries that have accepted the Paris Accord for world government. Now, that scares a lot of people, world government, because what we know of is the New World Order and the fact that they're going to enslave the people. Now, he's talking about the United States of America. He's talking about the corporation. He's dealing with the existing Treasury, Secretaries of State, State Department. Does he have any idea, Will or Jersey, do you know if he has any idea of the fact that the U.S. government was co-opted by the Khazarian Mafia back in 1872 and that we're trying to establish a republic?
I'm sure he does. I'm sure he's very cognizant of the world events that are happening right now. Remember the position that he flies around in. His level, he would naturally get this information. And if you notice, he's talking with the Treasury, okay? The Treasury is the country. That's a sovereign. That is the republic. It's not the Fed, okay, per se. You're talking to the real voice of the country financially when you're talking to the Treasury. And that's where the decisions are made, whether it's a de facto government like the corporation or whether it's the original organic constitution republic that has never gone away. Treasury is still Treasury. It cannot be anything else.
Okay, I appreciate that. A couple of other things I would have liked to have one of you folks ask him is what he thinks of Karen Hudas and what he thinks of Neil Keenan and whether these are all right.
Ron, here, let me kick in on some of this. One, in conversations pre-call, this is Doug, in conversations pre-call, the doc offered to get into governmental issues and speaking about governments, and we decided that would not be a good idea to get into those conversations.
Okay,
I believe there's multitudes of reasons behind it. And without elaborating on how that all works, there's people in charge of governments that the media doesn't even know they're in charge of the governments. You have fascias that run governments. You have faces that get up in front of it, but the real people behind these governments that are running them, those are the ones that they're dealing with. The actual, I'm trying to get you to read between the lines here, but we don't want to go down that avenue. Karen Hudas, Keenan, intel providers, personal opinion. We don't want to be too hard on any of them. When you get into the bulk of them have good faith behind what they're doing. And we've mentioned it numerous times before. Their channel of intel is prolific to them. It's bona fide to them. They have reasons why they make the statements that they do. But at the top of the food chain, everything goes back up at the top of the food chain, which is where we want to stay. That's what we're dealing with. How the downline goes into the governments, into the fascias of the people that are running those particular governments. We don't want to get into those political discussions. And when you start talking about Keenan and Beaufort and Karen, and we don't want to validate or invalidate anything that they do. I do believe, just in their readings and having conversations with them, that their heart's in the right place. They're not out to hurt anybody. They're out to take the bad guys out. And you have to, because of the economic status of the world, you have to have the cooperation and collaborate with all 209 sovereign nations. Everyone's got to get it. Now, you can call it a one world order, but that word's been polluted over the years, and it's not what it has been demonized to be. You're talking about economics. We're in a global environment now. Well, like it or not, what we do affects multiple countries. What other countries do economically affects us. So you have to have a cohesive understanding between all countries of this mechanism that's going to be the future, our kids' futures and our grandkids' futures, of what's going to financially run this world. Everybody's got to be on the same song sheet. And this is something that's been going on for decades to get to this point. The establishment in April 2009 of the G20. There's been 8 G20 since. Why did they do that? Because of the awareness of how our economy is so fragile based on the fractional monetary system and the way that economics are run in this world. We realize that it's very fragile, and certain things had to be put in place that's going to be uncomfortable for some and comfortable for others. But it had to be in place in order for this event to transpire, and these funds and these humanitarian projects that need to occur, they had to have a mechanism. And the mechanism is the global economic community the way it sits. Treasuries on any government don't go away. If a government changes hands, regime, the Treasury stays in place. Our Treasury is not going away. How it's ran and who's going to run it, those different components may change, but it's not going to go away. You'll see the Fed slowly integrate its way out, and something will take over and have a different name on it, a different acronym, but it's going to have the same functions and components that's used to run our global environment. The Fed's all over the world. It's not just the U.S. The Fed controls quite a bit with the central banking system, and you can't take that away. You have to have that financial mechanisms in place to run our planet. It's just how it's done. And the corruption and the lack of humanity in people, that's what's being attacked. So we don't really want to get into, and I believe he's not a big guy that reads blogs. He doesn't read blogs. He doesn't pay attention. He pays attention to his focus and his job. What other people say is totally irrelevant to him. He just does not care. If someone is obstructing justice and obstructing the flow of these funds as they come out, I guarantee you he will care. And those components themselves are already in place. So those that are stepping in the way, he's not going to come out and broadcast it and tell the enemy that the bullet's on its way. It's just going to hit you when you're walking down the street. And that's what's happening right now. I don't know if that clarifies a little bit more what we're talking about, but
I appreciate what you're saying, and I maybe was getting too political, but there are just so many different things going on right now, and attempts to put us back into a worldwide conflict that I was looking maybe for more information than you guys would care to even address.
We're probably not going to touch on those political things, but what you will see, though, is as we continue to use the word cabal, but as you see them relinquish their power, not willingly, expect there to be a lot of pushback. It's just not unusual. So when you see these things going on, it's just natural to see that would go on because they're going to fight it to the end. It's just what they're going to do.
Exactly. Okay. Well, thank you.
All right. Thank you. Hello, you're on the line. We'll take your question. Having trouble hearing you. Are you muted? There we go. Hello? Area code 405.
Yeah, hello, Doug.
Oh, hi.
Yeah, I appreciate your program and for you guys taking the time out of your busy schedule to address the industry community that you attach. That was a very interesting Dr. Cohler coming on, a person of that caliber and intelligence here, to speak to us today, and I really appreciate that. With this economic situation that you're talking about, I'm going to have to agree with you. There are different viewpoints, and there's a lot of people who's been waiting on this special event and realizing that it takes time to set a system in place. And I'm not being braggadocious myself, but being a member of the National Association of Security Dealers Automatic Quote, with the different series, 26663, there are a lot of things that people right now wouldn't really understand about the financial situation that's going on. And I say this to say this. The three branches of government, you got to have a little basic understanding of the judicial system and the executive system and the legislation system to bring this stuff into play. And one has to do a lot of due diligence to really understand what has been said today. And a lot of things that go on by reading, you can educate yourself. And with the help that you and Doug bring on, this thing is really something that you're not to take lightly. And the waiting time, we're going to have to wait. And it's coming to fruition no matter what, because the world is changing all around us extremely fast.
Mm-hmm.
In fact, I tell you how fast it's changing. Everyone knows what a nanosecond is, a microsecond. That's how fast it's changing. So we have to go along with the change and be prepared for the change. If not, we'll get caught up in the change, and we ain't going to know what to do. But it's people like your group and your staff agents that try to inform us of what's going on, and we really appreciate that. I really do. I appreciate it.
You're welcome.
And the economic situation, it's a brand new day on the horizon. So everybody just might well get adjusted. And in fact, I'm trying to adjust to it now. Even at my age, I have to change. I say I didn't want to get on the computer. I didn't want to mess with that stuff, but I found myself on the computer, emailing, hashtag, and all that stuff. I don't want to, but it's necessary.
It is necessary part of the world now, isn't it? How can is there a question that you have for us that we can help you with?
No, it was just basic comment. I was going to get my hand down, but this is very, very, very interesting. And I just want to say maybe I can help somebody. At my age, I graduated from high school in 1960. And some of the stuff that's been talked about, I had this in about the 8th grade, Jekyll Island and all that stuff, and the banking system and the financial system that's been going on. It's time for a change. And just keep on bringing good information. Maybe somebody, you'll get to somebody. I know you got to me. So
Excellent.
I just want to tell the older person that's listening, they better wake up and pay attention, set up and pay attention. And I always like to get the front row so I can listen to what the instructor's saying, and I'd like to have a good listen there. And I'm still learning at my age. I'm still learning to believe in you. And I thank you for everything that you do.
Thank you much. Appreciate it.
Yes, sir.
Hello, you're on the line. We'll take your question. Yes, having trouble hearing you. Area code 310.
Yes, this is area code 310.
There we go. Hi there.
I apologize. I didn't know that it was myself that you were addressing. Thank you so much for your call. This is my first time on, and I'll just call myself LA because I'm in the Southern California area. And do you have your call once a week?
Yes, every Wednesday.
Okay,
Same
wonderful.
time.
Well, I'll be sure and come on next Wednesday. Well, in a nutshell, I would appreciate some wisdom, or if you could please, the two of you or whoever, steer me in a direction. My house was stolen by the banksters, and my family and I have been out of our house, and it's vacant miraculously for 2.5 years. And I have quite a bit of currency, and I'm excited about many, many humanitarian projects. And I just wanted to know, with the situation that you know, I don't know what is available for me to know now, but with the situation with the banks, will they, once the reval happens, because I have a case with B of A in appeals, and I'm writing my own court documents. This is way above my. I don't have the finances for an attorney, and then I have another case with Chase, and I need some wisdom as far as I'm trying to drag this out as long as possible from what I've been reading and what I've been hearing, but I never know how much is true and how much is just made up. You know,
we're not.
I don't know
on
if.
The
Oh no, I know, understand.
There are some other folks that deal with that more directly. Perhaps we can refer you.
That I would really appreciate that. And then my husband and I are flying to Israel on the 22nd of this month, which is just a couple weeks away. But we're not going to be tourists. We're going to scout out different areas that are in tremendous need to be able to understand, okay, they need this amount of funds to do this. We were there last year, and we were serving in kitchens, and we were working with Holocaust victims. And so I just wanted to know, where could you steer me to write my humanitarian letters so that I'm ready? And then is there any way for me to set it up so that if the miracle happens when we're there, we're going to be there for 6 weeks. So if it happens when we're gone, I would like to know how to set up some finances so that we could get I could get a small portion of it. I already have a Wells Fargo account. I just don't know how to go about this so that we could bless people while we're there. The different ministries are already set up for many years to help people on the streets. You know, we were handing out basics as canned food and toilet paper, and we're talking about ground zero type needs.
I wanted to answer your question, but I want to clarify this for a second. The question is, I'm going off on a humanitarian mission, won't be here if it happens while I'm gone. What do I do? Is that your question?
That's one of them, yes. Thank you.
Okay. Just wanted to clarify that.
Sure.
Ultimately, what I'm being told, and Doug may have some insight on this too, but you need to do this in person. So I don't see this being done through, power of attorney or through somebody else or, whatever that case might be. You have to do this directly when it does occur. Of course, we don't know when that time will be. But
I was understanding that there's only going to be so many days. It's only going to be a few days, correct? I kept hearing to get the humanitarian rate. Yeah, no. When I was to present my paperwork for the humanitarian projects, I kept hearing, "Oh, you need to respond within so many hours, otherwise you're not going to get the high rate to help with your humanitarian projects." And I'm thinking, "Oh my goodness, I'm going to be gone."
Oh, I don't know what that's about.
Maybe it's a
it must be something involving a private group I mean, if it's involving the public, currency is currency. You should be able to just walk in and take care of that. Doug, do you have any thoughts on that? It sounds like a private group, though.
I was told for the Zim that we're going to be getting 800 numbers, and we need to respond quickly within, I don't know, like 3 days in order to get the highest rate to help us with our humanitarian projects that we were going to present.
I see.
In person.
And you're not sure if you're going to have email access and all that. Yeah, I'm not sure.
You know what?
I'm not sure how to answer that.
And I'm not sure the question either.
Then that's probably a better question for them than for us. Yeah, I'm not quite sure how to steer you on that one.
So you hadn't heard. Is this Doug or Jersey?
No, this is Will. This is Will.
Oh, I apologize, Will. I didn't know who I was speaking with. So, Will, you're not really sure how to help me because you haven't heard. You think it's a private group that seems to be
the
that I'm
instructions that you're
referring
getting is obviously coming from a private group with, some form of program of exchange. Because if it was a public, you would just walk into your bank and do it. So there are some contracts that are being done on a private basis, but you need to refer to them on what those instructions are because it could be different for each program.
I apologize, Will. I'm not certain I understand. So you're saying it appears that what I'm talking about is a private group, and this is not the public.
Yeah, if someone's giving you that information, perhaps it's related to a private program of doing that.
So you're saying that you don't think I need to be too concerned about missing the boat, so to speak.
No, I don't think anybody's going to miss the boat. This is going to be
I'm saying as far as I'm going to be overseas. I'm going to be overseas until November, the beginning of November.
I don't think it'll matter whether you're overseas or you're over here. I don't see you missing the boat by any means. Yeah.
Okay. I appreciate that. And then what do you suggest I do or who do you suggest I talk to or could you please steer me in a direction regarding this mess with the house and
send me an email, and I can give you a link to some folks that seem to know what they're talking about in that regard. I'm not an expert on that, so
I'm certainly not either. I'll let you know how it goes. And then what is the email?
But yeah, you can email me at just Will, WILL, at humanus.ca.
WILL at HUMANUS.
.ca, like cat and apple.
Oh, like of California, at .California.
It's Canadian, yeah. Mm-hmm.
Oh, Canadian.
Yeah.
.ca, okay.
Mm-hmm.
Will at humanus.ca.
That's correct. Mm-hmm.
And in the memo, I'll put the date today.
Okay.
And then say something about I'm LA, and then you'll know. Because I'm sure you get swamped with hundreds and hundreds.
To these folks that can help you. They've dealt with that kind of thing many times. Yeah.
Because one of the things that happened to me amongst a long list of illegal things was my name was forged, which I know is big time.
Oh yeah, I'm familiar with several other people.
Way up high on the mountaintop there. As far as I really appreciate your program and thanks for your patience with all of us and your TLC towards us. And thank you it's Dr. Cohler.
Thanks for calling in.
It was Dr. Cohler?
Yes, that's correct. Uh-huh.
And it's John Cohler?
Cohler.
Okay.
No, it's Alan Cohler.
Alan Cohler.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And it's Cohler?
Cohler.
No, I think it's an H in there, yeah.
Yeah, Cohler.
It's the first time I ever heard of such a wonderful gentleman, and thank you for bringing him on.
You're welcome.
And God bless. And thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, bye.
Hello, you're on the line. We'll take your question.
Hi, I'm a first-time caller also. I heard some counterfeit or not correct currency, and I don't know how to tell if my currency is real.
Well,
when we were
take a pull the matches.
When we were talking about counterfeits, we were primarily talking about bond boxes. I think was the main portion of that call, but it doesn't mean that there isn't fake currency, because obviously there are counterfeiters out there.
Actually, we have heard about
it through a lawful means. You know, you went to a bank or an authorized dealer or something. You're probably fine.
I went to an authorized dealer.
There have been cases of cartons or container loads, 20 and 40-foot containers of dinar, all of them bearing the same serial number. It was kind of funny. Oh yeah.
I will have to check mine and see. Another thing is I would like to do humanitarian work, and I've got a list of so many different things I would like to do. I'm trying to figure out how should I set that up to be diversified and just instead of just feeding the poor and building housing for the needy people. What suggestion do you have?
In terms of how you structure yourself, I mean, it sounds like you've got humanitarian projects. Some of those could be humanitarian projects is a real broad term. Some of it means nonprofit, and some of it means something that blesses the world, but it is for profit. Okay, I can tell you our perspective is that having something that's profitable enough or an income stream to maintain itself is the only way to have good long-term success. Otherwise, you need donations all the time. So if you got a nonprofit thing you set up, and if you don't get those donations, it doesn't live, right? It doesn't survive. So if you can put your projects together in a form that generates some income that can keep that going for the long-term sustainability, then we suggest that that's how you do it. Is that helpful?
You there?
Yeah, we must have lost her.
Okay.
Yeah.
No, you cut out for a while.
Oh, did it cut out for a second? Okay. What I was talking about was sustainability. Design your project in a manner that has some income flow, so that the jobs that you create, the good that you're doing with it, can be sustained over a long period of time, so that you're not dependent on donations and stuff constantly every year. It becomes it's a welfare project at that point.
Yes.
So we suggest that you structure it in such a way that it can generate some income. It can do some things that can maintain itself once you begin it.
Do you have a website I could go to?
Yes, we do have a website, humanus.ca, and there's quite a bit of information on there.
Oh, okay. And what time does your call come on? Because this is the first time
It starts at 3 p.m. Mountain Time every Wednesday. Thank you so much for calling in.
Thank you, too.
Hello, you're on the line. We'll take your question.
Hey, Will, and all you guys. It's Judy in Colorado. I have a kind of a hi, you guys. Every time I can hear your call, I'm just like, oh, man, we're almost there. So this is kind of a logistics question, I think. Unlike some people who have trillions of dollars worth of any kind of funds, I have what will be way enough for me for the next 500 years. And some of the funds are already committed, if you will, to some projects that I name. So this might be a three-part question. I'm interested in doing a project on my small piece of property here in Colorado, a veterans and with veterans in greenhouses, and I was given the vision of a permaculture site some years ago, and boy, it would just fit nicely. I don't particularly want to run it though, and so I don't know whether to hand funds to you guys and let you. I'm not married to the project. I want to have the project. I don't really necessarily want to work at night and day. So I don't know whether to give funds to you folks and let you put them wherever there's a leak or a hole, no matter what it is, because whatever you all do, I'm all about every one of those, or just exactly how to do that. And
we are instituting a program that anybody that wishes to donate to the project side, we take the money in, sequester it, and track it into the project that it goes into. So everybody has accountability where the money went to. That's just good common business sense.
That sounds like the answer to the question. Isn't that the answer to the question?
It probably is, yes.
Thank you, God. That was so easy. Okay, on with the other business at hand. All right, you guys, I appreciate you so much. So I'll know when it comes to give you a call or something, and you'll say what to do.
Send an email, and that'll start the conversation, and then a meeting can be arranged to meet in person to look at and review projects and see what interests you to help.
Oh, I appreciate that. And I know you've said this on the air 730,000 times. I don't have my resume. I counted them. I'm sorry. You probably go, is that Judy Cooper again? What does she want this time, for Pete's sake? And I make great pie, just in case you're interested. So I'm thinking that I still want to work for you guys. And so I can't remember if it's careers with a C-A-R-E-E-R-S or a K-A-R-E-E-R-S.
Careers with an S, plural. Careers at
with a C at the beginning, yes. Mm-hmm. Okay, careers at humanus.ca because it's Canada. I appreciate it very much. I'll send both those things out. God bless you guys. I appreciate you. Thank you. Bye.
Thanks so much. Bye.
Bye.
Hello, you're on the line. We'll take your question.
Thank you so much, gentlemen, and thank you so much for having Dr. Cohler on. It was really inspiring and very, very informative. I have just a couple points here, questions, because I know we're running out of time. You mentioned that you were going to post some links on your website with respect to some of the things that Dr. Cohler was talking about. I was just curious, where will you be posting those links, and when do you think you'll have them up?
The only things that would be posted might be, usually we wouldn't do this as a posting, but it would be the documents to utilize, KYC and that type of thing, and how to set up your package if you're doing one.
Okay.
The other information generally for about them, we were not able to post that. That's a private information. So.
Dr. Cohler mentioned you can do a Google search on him and the 01-4 protocol, and you'll receive thousands of pages on the topic. I tried.
Oh, okay.
I got good result. Yep.
Okay, thank you. I just have one other question about, or a point of clarity that Dr. Cohler had brought up about the fact that with respect to the bonds that are redeemed, obviously I recognize the fact that the trust owns the bonds, and whoever has the bonds are just holders. But he indicated that the holders, or at least my understanding of what he said, was that the holders would not be able to keep any of the 80% for projects that for humanitarian projects that the holders wanted to pursue, that the trust would be keeping 80% for them to determine what they're going to submit the funds to for humanitarian projects.
Yes, but also remember that if you have a good project, they can just give you a portion of that for the project. It's an easy one. Dr. Cohler, like us, is not there for the control factor. He's there to get the projects up and off the ground. If you require funds, what happens? You get funded. And if it comes back through the form of the exchange or the redemption, you still get funded. And you have a whole bunch for your own personal. It's a win-win.
Oh, okay. I just wasn't clear that whether we holders who have humanitarian projects could still pursue our project.
It's actually suggested that if you sent any documentation in, if you had some asset, that you would send also a copy of your projects that you're wanting to do. You send those together. That's helpful because then they can organize that appropriately.
So that would happen obviously when we are doing the contract level that we submitted at that time. Or do we know?
You can do it right from the beginning. I would suggest you make them aware of it from the beginning. This whole effort is a humanitarian effort. If they see a file come in that's attached to a worthy project, that's going to get their attention.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so we would submit it with the KYC or to the people that we submitted our KYC to?
It would be, wherever you're directed to send it. Yeah. You just send it together. You could have a one-page, summary of your projects or whatever you'd like to do.
Okay, well, that's helpful. Thank you so much, gentlemen, and thank you so much for having this call every week.
You're welcome. Thank you for coming on. Hello, you're on the line. We'll take your question.
Hello, this is Claire from Calgary. A few weeks ago, you all were asking for a cure for radiation, and I wondered if you have found one.
It depends on what form. There's actually several that have come forward, technologies, some in the form of enzymes and microbes that actually eat it up and get rid of it. So there's a variety of, it depends what the need is, what the application.
Well, I've been involved with Agnihotra, which is a Ayurvedic fire ceremony, and the ash from the little fire that you build, and it's built in a special sacred geometry dimension pot, was taken up to Chernobyl when they had the radiation there, and it helped heal a lot of people, both putting the ash in the water and then also rubbing it on the individuals that had the radiation burns. And if you'd like more information on that, I have just done it a few years, but there is someone that I could put you in contact with if you'd like to have more information on that.
Why don't you send us an email about that? That would be great.
Okay, and to whom am I hearing?
You can address it to me, to will@humanus.ca.
Will@humanus. Okay. Good, Will, and thank you so much for your call and your patience. And it's time for humanity that we come forth just to help people with no thought behind it other than to help somebody else.
Yes, wonderful. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Hello, you're on the line. We'll take your questions.
Hello.
Hi there.
Hi.
Glad to
Hi
have
there.
you.
Yes, it's Mark from Central Florida. Hi, Will, Jersey, and Doug. How you all doing?
Very good, thank you.
Great. Listen, Doug, I heard you say earlier that Canada has joined the AIIB. Is that correct?
Correct. Either they signed or they've agreed to it. So whether they've actually signed into it, but yes, they've committed to the AIIB. Also the IMF also.
Oh, okay. I heard also last night I was listening to a call, and a gentleman that deals with, world affairs and whatnot said that Canada, we verified it, Canada is now off the gold. They have no more gold. If you look and check it out, you go and look, there is no more gold. They have no signs of gold on their list of countries with gold assets.
Wow, which I find astounding. Barrick Gold is located out of Canada, and the largest gold mining operation on the planet. You know?
I'll put it this way, that any issues regarding whether they have it or don't have it will be solved. They'll be taken care of.
Okay, well, my point was that, you know, they were there in the recent past, and now no gold is being shown in tonnage on the world currency, the world gold reserves for that country.
Interesting.
Yeah, it is interesting.
Jersey, do you have any insight on that?
Not at the moment. Nope.
All right, but I just think that you all maybe take a little peek at it yourselves when you get off the call. It's pretty interesting.
What generally happens is, Canada, says, forget the cabal, I want to get with humanity, and then they are offered a gift, and they're blessed, and those problems get fixed.
So it's just, that's in other words, it's being posted by the cabal or the powers that be, basically.
Well, I'm saying is if there is a problem, it will be corrected.
Oh, I got you.
Yeah.
And also the event that we're waiting for, where these blessings come, and apparently the gold reserves that have been hidden for all these many thousands of years, that's going to be brought out to fund the world humanitarian projects and help governments restore where peoples of the world can get blessings. Is that something that will be issued to the government so that their reserves will be beefed up? Is that how it works?
Yes. Part of the process of the reset is to take care, you have to almost reset all the countries together. And that means, get rid of the debts, get rid of those problems that are there hanging out. You can't just take care of one country and say, forget the rest of the world. This is everybody.
Yes.
So all of those debts will go away.
Okay. So I was just curious because I did notice that I was on a call and I was listening to people and they were talking about, this person came on and said that Canada's gold reserve is now gone. It's off the charts. They don't show it as a reserve anymore. And so it was we checked it out, and sure enough, it was true. They were in the top 40 gold reserve carriers, and now they're not even on the list. So I thought that was interesting.
And I'm not sure how often that's updated, the information. So it'll be interesting to find that out. There is some. It's not like there isn't any. That would be inaccurate.
Right. The other thing I noticed, and I'm one of these people who've been following through you all. I haven't been on the call in probably about 4 or 5 months, but I've been following things through many different sources, and I feel that some of them are reliable, some are nonsense. But I'm trying to learn how to discern all the affairs that's going on in the world. I study everything about this investment, about what's happening for the world, and it's awesome. I mean, I had a great education, but I'm starting to realize that there obviously the reason why the RV, the GCR, to my mind, just my opinion, hasn't happened is because these powers that be that don't want to relinquish the power are being dealt with, and there's no way that they can put these monies out there and help with the projects and help fund this whole event without being stolen, or being misplaced and misrepresented. So I see how this is all going down. It's just sad that it's taking so long that we're dealing with this. So
yeah, Mark, you understand what very few people understand, and that is that I'll call it the cleanup because I don't know how else to describe it, but the cleanup process is fundamentally part of this. It has to be. You can't just have these events take place and release that money out there with all of it going right back into nefarious evil plots.
Mm-hmm.
So the cleanup was necessary, and that takes time, and sometimes much longer than any of us realize.
And I think that's the issue, right? Well, I mean, everybody's going, why is this happening? Why now? Because we're dealing with people that have been ruining the world and destroying people's lives and handcuffing countries and, causing so much unrest and putting people in bondage that has to be broken in order for this to be successful.
Yes.
That's how I see it.
Yep.
So I can understand the frustration.
And that's been done. I think, Jersey, we've been talking about cleanup for how many years now? I think
very
on
long
these
time.
calls, we've been talking about it for at least 2 years.
Yes.
And a lot has been done. I would say the last year particularly, a lot of cleanup has been done in terms of getting, the bad guys out of positions, because they all have their people. Like they have their bankers in certain banks in various positions so that they can, do their laundering for them and all this stuff. So all that had to be worked out. I'm not saying that it's gone. And even as this unfolds, it won't all be gone.
No.
There'll still be cleanup that'll be going on as the process goes forward, because there'll be things that'll come up. I mean, it'll become obvious what's going on.
Well, I will share one little snippet during the G20. One particular banker in one particularly large bank in Hong Kong decided to continue the path of corruption and demanded $10 million extortion of a bribe in order to do a transaction for some client. Well, it was the wrong client. He was reported and he was fired summarily. And this was a senior guy, so the cleanup does continue. There's been over 150 arrests just in that one bank over the last year, let's say, year or less. And even then, with the example set, there was still one guy kicking around that decided to take a chance. He lost. He's in there for 20 years.
Wow.
So sad. Yep.
So is
you don't do this kind of stuff anymore.
Is a SIP system designed to stop this corruption of people laundering money and stealing money? And is that what this whole system's about?
You betcha.
Okay.
That's what Basel III and Basel IV was really designed to do, is to put safeguards in place that prevent that kind of activity.
Right.
Yeah. We need a clean system because we're doing very large things. And if we have that money stolen, that's going to just be a hell of a headache. So we'll nip it in the bud.
I understand. Like I said, I've been studying this all out, and I've been trying to put the dots together to form a picture of really what's going on. I mean, I listen to everybody, and I've learned how to discern what is true, what's not true. And just like that gentleman earlier who was probably frustrated about all the calls, people saying it's going to happen this time. It's not going to happen until the corruption is cleaned up. It's just not going to. And I believe it's almost there. I believe they are getting this done. There's evidence of it. And a proof in the pudding is that you all know as well as I do that the Federal Reserve was an organization, a private organization, correct?
Mm-hmm.
So what I did was I typed in federalreserve.org, okay? And I went to that website, and guess what happened? It switched over to federalreserve.gov.
That's correct. That started about a little over a year ago.
Mm-hmm. And it surprised me. I was like, wait, whoa. This is an independent organization. So
we were told at one point that in order to have a peaceful transition, that the Treasury would have to basically buy the Fed and bring it internal.
Right.
In order to have a peaceful transition. And the name certainly changed on the website for sure.
Right. Didn't the Bank of New York buy the Fed just recently? And I know that some bank, I forget the name, bought the Fed.
Was the Chinese. Is that correct? Is that just misinformation?
I'm not sure. I heard that snippet along the line. It sounded valid. Based on a couple of intelligence pieces around the world, and I didn't think too much of it. It was a significant thing, though. And
you have the Fed has a significant infrastructure, and I don't think you can just instantly replace that. I think you'd have to, even if you did something else, you'd have to have a transition or have the new entity take over, buy it out or something.
Obviously, it's far-reached in the world. I mean, the Federal Reserve plays a big role in the world affairs, obviously, right? So,
in regards to dollars, U.S. dollars, yes. If you look at the money supply of U.S. dollars in the world, only about a third is in the country.
Right.
The rest is all over the world. So there's obviously a lot going on out there.
So what about I hear the rumors, and maybe it's true, I think there is articles out about it, that China's trying to dump our dollars. So if that's true, who's dumping it to?
That is going on.
Listen, China is not here to do harm, okay?
Of course not.
Quite the opposite. They're here to support the dollar. They've got a great, huge debt. They have a vested interest in having Uncle Sam be the shining beacon of hope.
Sure.
Without Uncle Sam, China is out in left field. That's the real bottom line. They need each other.
Yes, we do.
Yeah.
Well, I just thought I'd just pass that information on. I've been doing my studies, and I've been looking at everything, and I'm just as anxious as everybody else to want to get this moving along so we can go out there and help a lot of people. There's a lot of good-hearted people out there that they're not going to put the wealth on themselves only. They're just going to go out there and do what they can to help their fellow man. And I'm one of those people. I hope this happens in the next month or so. I'm just sad that it's taken so long with Iraq being the kingpin, and they just doesn't. Maybe they're slow playing it on purpose. Maybe they're part of the process that's going on behind the scenes that nobody understands. Maybe they're just slow playing it on purpose. So.
Yeah, there's something afoot over there. I have my own opinion.
Yeah, I do too. I think there's something afoot there, and I think you want to think about it. So, but thank you, gentlemen. You do great work, and just keep it up. And keep listening for you.
Thank you much. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
I want to thank those that have participated on our call today. Many great questions. I want to thank Dr. Alan Cohler for coming on and bringing some clarity to some of the historic asset situation. There's still lots of work to be done there, and all for the benefit of projects. So we hope that many of you are working on your projects. We know that you are because they're coming in. We see the business plans, and we know there's hours, hundreds, thousands of hours that go into many of these. And it is a lot of work. It's a labor of love for many of you. And we recognize that. You've got your heart and soul into these, and this will be, as they roll out, I think, a real testament to your dedication to the world and to humanity. So thank you very much for doing that and bringing about these things. Each of us play a part. And as we work together and coordinate and cooperate, we find that the effort becomes light, becomes easy when we all live together. So thank you all so much for doing that and being a part of these calls each week and a part of blessing the world. Thank you very much. Turn some time to Doug and Jersey for final thoughts.
Go ahead, Doug. Doug is busy with the kid, I think.
We've lost him. He must have had a challenge. He dropped off the line. So Jersey will let you close up.
All right. Okay, well, everybody, today with the exploration of the Rodriguez Trust, I guess the path is quite clear as to the direction that Landa has followed over the last years as far as the submissions of the packages is concerned. We're happy to have held this conference call that provides good clarity in respect of our role in these global matters. We have not shouted out before that we're the place to come to, if you recall, but we've actually followed our own tenet of leadership by example in providing simple explanations to complex matters by offering a perspective based on simple common sense coupled with good intelligence. So we've always counseled patients in sticking with the channel you're with if it's valid. Do your due diligence at all times. And this stance has not changed, and we do not entice to bring your submissions to Landa. But at this point, I guess it is pretty clear our relationship with the Trust. Folks that have stated publicly that what we do is a scam, I trust that these voices have a different perspective after this conference. We welcome providing our services because we know that the path we are on is correct and will benefit the people we serve. Thanks much for supporting us over the years, and shortly it'll be our turn to support you and your project for the benefit of you, your community, and our humanity. We love you, and God bless. Have a great week. Back to you, Will.
Thank you, Jersey. Appreciate your comments and your reports each week. We love you all. We'll see you again next Wednesday at the same time. Have a great one. Bye-bye.